Tonight in Iowa, the Democratic Party begins to make that crucial decision. Who will it choose to take on Donald Trump?
Part of being Iowan is the gamesmanship of the night of.
Who won tonight? How much does it matter? And what are the Republicans up to?
Also tonight, Ottawa's plan to get Canadians out of China.
I just want some clear answers from somebody, and I want my family home.
Why some families may be split apart. Chilling new evidence from Iran in the Flight 752 investigation. And Ontario teachers start a week's worth of pressure.
No ifs, no buts, no education cut.
Will it move the government? What about parents? This is The National.
This is Des Moines, Iowa, the capital of a small state that tonight is playing a big part in the U.S. presidential election. It is caucus day here when Democratic candidates face their first test in the race to win the White House. We're in the Iowa Event Center tonight, and the glaring lights here show just how big a deal what's happening here really is. So the caucuses are a little bit like a Super Bowl for this state. Voters are incredibly engaged. The candidate camps seem to be tangles of nerves because winning or losing here can have huge implications on the race to come. In more than 1,600 school gyms, community centers, and the like, Democratic candidates are testing the big question: will people actually support them? It's a crowded field, but with four main contenders: former Vice President Joe Biden, former Mayor Pete Buttigieg, and U.S. Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Each knows Iowa matters. Win here, and there's a good chance of becoming the party's nominee. It has happened the last 6 times in a row. Republicans are also caucusing tonight as the incumbent, Donald Trump, will win. Still, his family was here today.
We're here in Iowa to show the people that we take this election seriously.
It's the start of a busy week for Trump. After this, tomorrow is the State of the Union, and then that other distraction, a Senate vote in his impeachment trial. And so here's a live look of what's happening inside those caucus locations right now. So on the left in Iowa City, on the right in North Liberty, both clearly pretty packed. We'll be keeping a close eye on what's happening in rooms like these all across the state tonight. But tonight is really all about the Democrats.
Indeed.
Susan Ormston is here with me now. So Susan, this is a really small state. Why is it so important?
Small state with a big story tonight, Adrian. It's a tiny fraction of Democratic delegates who will go to the convention. But Iowa's not first because it's politically important. It's important because it's first. So we're looking for a test. And that large field of Democratic candidates that we've been watching all fall will be winnowed down. Start that process. Success here tonight will be contagious. A very poor showing may end a candidate's campaign over the next month. Here's what we know for sure.
All right.
Democrats are anxious. After 3 years of Donald Trump, they feel intense pressure to get it right.
There's one issue in this caucus: how do we best defeat Donald Trump? And then it's a question of what's the best strategy to defeat Donald Trump.
In other words, they're thinking hard tonight about who would attract the broadest coalition of voters in 2020, including diverse Americans and Republicans disaffected by Trump. The top 4 candidates polling strongly here are split over the direction they'd take their party and the country. That disunity spilling out into the open already. Sanders and Warren are campaigning on the progressive left. Joe Biden in the center, peddling experience. And Pete Buttigieg, the newcomer, trying to stay in a middle lane.
We got to make sure that we are ready to galvanize and not polarize.
We're kind of like a yard sign for the rest of the country.
Okay, so given all the caveats that there are 1,600 precincts, there's still another round of voting to go. I know some early results are coming in. What are you seeing?
Well, all that persuasion still to come, really, Adrian, because we're not seeing any definitive results. There are entrance polls, and what do we know? Well, we know that those 4 top-tier candidates we've spoken about are polling the most, the bulk of the votes. We know that a third only are new to caucus, which is important if you're trying to attract new people to the party. And we know that half of the entrance poll youth are going for Bernie Sanders, which is significant.
Interesting. We'll see if that holds. I know you've been at a number of rallies across the state for a little while, and you always pick up something. What's the feel you're getting that stands out for you the most?
Well, you know, we look for energy and enthusiasm, and it's not really a measure of anything except enthusiasm and ability to attract attention. But Bernie Sanders, 3,000 people at a concert on Saturday night in eastern Iowa. The energy was electric. In a small gathering, I was in a cafe. He was able to almost have an evangelical attraction with his supporters. In contrast, Joe Biden this weekend, small hotel room-like meetings, quiet, energy low. Biden's team says even if he's not top tonight, don't read that as a failure. He's got support across the country.
What about Pete Buttigieg?
Well, interesting. Here's a guy that we hardly knew how to pronounce his name a year ago. He's in the top tier of Democratic candidates tonight and seems to be polling well. So whatever happens, he has really enhanced his political career, hasn't he?
All right, you'll be here with me tonight. Thanks very much, Susan. Appreciate that. So with all the drama for the Democrats, it is really easy to forget that the Republicans are also caucusing today. But even if their race is quieter and hardly a race, they have ways of reminding all that they're here too.
The narrative is that there's only Democrats in the state of Iowa.
Okay.
And so, we're just trying to let people know that there are two choices.
So that's the Trump tractor. Coming later, we'll take a closer look at the Republican strategy here in Iowa. In Washington tonight, Republicans are warming up for a bit of a victory lap as Donald Trump's impeachment trial is winding down. The lawyers on each side seem to know that this is all but over. As Paul Hunter explained, today's closing arguments weren't aimed at senators. They were designed for voters.
History will not be kind to Donald Trump. I think we all know that.
It was the Democrats' last chance to try to convince Republicans that the Donald Trump presidency must now end, describing it this way.
It's damning, chilling, disturbing, and disgraceful.
But with the Senate trial's outcome all but certain, no one doubts Trump will be acquitted Wednesday. Consider the likely real audience for today's final arguments: American voters, who 9 months from today will either vote in someone else as president or re-elect Donald Trump. All that's left is for everyone to make up their minds. In fact, Trump's lawyers made that part of their own final argument in slamming the Democrats' case.
This body must stand as a steady bulwark against this reckless and dangerous proposition.
The only appropriate result here is to acquit the president and to leave it to the voters to choose their president.
So Democrats focused on Trump, with a portrait of a president they want voters to think about in the run-up to November.
He has betrayed our national security, and he will do so again. He has compromised our elections, and he will do so again. You will not change him. You cannot constrain him. He is who he is. Truth matters little to him. What's right matters even less, and decency matters not at all,
said Adam Schiff. He is a president who can never be trusted to do the right thing.
You just can't. He will not change, and you know it.
Then again, Trump's determination to do things his way is precisely why millions of Americans voted for him in the first place. And after these many weeks of the impeachment process, the fact is, millions of Americans are still set to do so again. And Trump knows it. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
And we'll be in Washington on Wednesday for that impeachment vote. Tomorrow night, too, for the President's State of the Union address. Lots of special coverage ahead on the National. And we'll be back from here in Iowa a little bit later tonight. Until then, it's back to Andrew in Toronto.
Okay, lots coming up. We'll see you soon, Adrian. Let's talk about the coronavirus outbreak. There are now more than 20,000 confirmed cases in China. The total number of deaths from the virus up to 425, which is more than the 2003 SARS outbreak killed in China. Now, at the epicenter in Wuhan today, medical teams were shown hunting down cases and moving them to designated quarantine zones. The number of new cases emerging each day still growing, and by many estimates will continue to in a significant way. But there are encouraging numbers as well. The daily rate of recoveries from the virus is also ticking upwards, underscoring that so far, in the vast majority of cases, people survive it. Now, Canada is getting set to airlift people out of China. The government has one plane on the way, another ready if needed. David Cochran explains how it's supposed to work and who's getting left behind.
Over the last number of days, we have been working around the clock.
Working around the clock to evacuate people from halfway around the world, and still some big details to sort out.
We need Chinese approval for the flight manifest and all the documentation of Canadians wishing to leave.
That manifest is key. Only people on that list will be allowed to pass through the police checkpoints on the way to the airport. While that's being sorted, the evacuation flight will wait in Hanoi until it gets permission to enter China and land in Wuhan. From there, it will fly to Vancouver before refueling and making its way to the Canadian Forces Base in Trenton, Ontario.
All passengers will remain at CFB Trenton for 14 days after arrival to allow for a full health assessment.
Nobody with symptoms will be allowed on the plane in China. Anyone who becomes ill during the flight will be isolated from other passengers and then taken to hospital either in Vancouver or Trenton. At least 300 people have asked for help, but China won't let everyone leave.
The concession or the position that has been taken by China is to preserve family unity.
China's concession comes with a limit. Canadian citizens can go, but permanent residents or Chinese citizens who live in Canada, well, they can only get on that plane if they are the guardian of a Canadian child who would otherwise have to travel alone.
I just want some clear answers from somebody, and I want my family home.
Which leaves Monty Gisborne stuck. He's a Canadian citizen here in Canada, his wife and daughter, permanent residents, stranded in Wuhan.
They're scared. They got news yesterday that my wife's mother's best friend died of the coronavirus. So that's a bullet close to home, isn't it?
Canada will push that they be allowed to leave, but it's China's call. And right now, China says no. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Last week, a New England Journal of Medicine report suggested the coronavirus could be spread by people even if they didn't exhibit symptoms. Alarming for those flying out of the quarantine zone if true, but it turns out the report was based on false information. It was based on a single case of a woman who traveled from Shanghai to Germany, and contrary to the report, she did have symptoms when she infected others. That supports what most experts had originally believed, that the virus is primarily spread by people who appear to be sick. Okay, so now we have Dr. Susie Hoda joining us, who is an infectious diseases physician. And this sounds like a pretty big development in terms of the transmission of the virus. I mean, how significant is this?
Well, you know, I think that what it does is it tells us that the assumptions that we've had so far about how we need to control this virus are still going to be effective. So if people are not able to shed the virus and infect others when they don't have symptoms yet, then we can actually use that point of when they develop symptoms as our trigger to really, start isolating people and kind of get into that sequence of following up on their contacts.
Right, and that's important because that is the kind of screening that is in place right now. And again, I'm thinking of those people flying into the country.
Yes, and so the screening that we're doing in airports is definitely reliant on people reporting their symptoms.
Right.
And, that's important because we can capture people at that point to actually identify if they need to be isolated, if they need to be, managed differently. It's by no means a perfect measure because we know that some people may have been infected but not yet be showing symptoms. Right. They're not necessarily a risk to anybody else, but they may pass that screening and then later develop symptoms and require that kind of follow-up.
Is the damage already done even once a case is confirmed because that person could have infected other people before it was reported to any health authority?
Yeah, I mean, it is possible as, if people are still out in public and exposing other people to, their illness, if they are symptomatic, then there is a possibility that there can be transmission at that point in time. But that's why the public health system has a really rigorous process of identifying close contacts of a sick individual, starting with those who spend the most time with them and working outwards from there in a rational way to try and make sure that they're aware of what to look out for, what to do if they develop symptoms, and how to proceed. So that's our containment strategy out in the public.
Okay, interesting development though here. Dr. Hoda, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Iran has stopped cooperating with Ukraine in the case of Flight 752, which was shot down by Iranian missiles, killing 57 Canadian citizens and more than 100 others. This latest diplomatic rupture is over an audio recording. Iran shared it with Ukraine and wanted it kept secret, but it wasn't. Ashley Burke looks at what it means for Canada.
цьому українців переконувала іранська влада.
Big news in Ukraine. Leaked audio. A public airing that severed private trust. CBC News has been unable to verify the audio, but it purports to show radio communication between the airport tower in Tehran and a pilot of an Iranian plane nearby. The pilot tells the tower it saw a series of lights that looked like a missile. The tower then tries to reach Flight 752, but gets no response. Ukraine's president said the audio proves Iran has known from the beginning a missile hit the jet. In response, Iran's head of the crash investigation said he would no longer share evidence with Ukraine. What do you make of that, and could it impact Canada's access to the investigation?
So I will not comment on those allegations, but I will say that the investigation is very much still a priority and an ongoing thing for us.
Canada's transport minister is still pushing for more access and spoke with his Iranian counterpart today.
He has assured us that they are going to be proceeding with an investigation and that Canadian experts will be involved with it.
So are the allegations
it's continuing.
But slowly. Almost 4 weeks since the crash, Iran hasn't handed over the plane's black boxes for analysis. The Prime Minister called that a key part of any investigation and says it's worrying that it hasn't happened yet. The United Nations agency that sets out requirements for aviation investigations told CBC News that it's encouraging countries to set aside any disputes and conduct a thorough investigation. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, there were some scary moments today for passengers on an Air Canada flight. They were bound for Toronto from Madrid when this happened.
Well, there was a really loud bang when we took off, and everyone was kind of worried, and we stayed very low for a long time.
Turns out the plane had an engine problem and ruptured a tire on takeoff. After circling for 4 hours to use up fuel, the aircraft had finally shed enough weight to make an emergency landing. Passengers were provided with hotels and rebooked on other flights. Regina has set its environmental goals fairly high. So when the city hired a climate crisis skeptic as the keynote speaker for a sustainability conference, some people were confused, others just plain angry. And as Bonnie Allen tells us, the mayor now says that decision is under review.
They nicknamed me Dr. Truth in Greenpeace because I didn't let them lie.
Patrick Moore was once the director of Greenpeace Canada. Now, decades later, he's a paid speaker who says that the climate crisis is a hoax. The city of Regina is going to pay Moore $10,000 for a keynote speech at its sustainability conference in May.
Whether it's coral reefs or polar bears or GMOs or climate change, all of these issues are being used as scare stories, and now they're scaring the children.
Moore says his speech will be titled Fake Invisible Catastrophes and Threats of Doom.
I don't deny that the climate changes. They've got to be a bit more explicit than that. The climate's been changing since the beginning of the Earth.
Moore's main message is that man-made carbon emissions are not harmful.
I'm tired of having this particular conversation.
University of Regina biologist Britt Hall is just one of many scientists speaking out. She was excited about the city's lofty goal. 2 years ago, Regina pledged to become a renewable city by 2050, phasing out non-renewable energy use.
I want to have a conversation with people that are wanting to work towards mitigation. Even adaptation would be better than having a discussion about whether or not we can believe the science.
At first, the selection committee defended its choice.
One of the things that we're aware of is that he would probably create some interest. And so, and he has. You're here today.
But now,
well, we're going to review this.
The mayor got so much backlash, he's calling for a review.
The city of Regina would not be putting on this conference if we didn't believe that we have a climate issue in our country, a severe one around the world. And we're trying to do our part.
Patrick Moore says he hopes so-called cancel culture won't triumph and that people will listen to his speech before criticizing his message. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Regina.
Well, teachers across Ontario will walk off the job again this week.
No ifs, no buts, no education cuts.
Next on The National, as teachers head back to the picket lines, the mystery attack ad prompting calls for an investigation.
Sly like a fox.
Fear over the coronavirus sends Hong Kong's healthcare workers to the streets.
Plus, we'll be back from Iowa with a look at what the Republican strategy is here. And one baby gets a lot of FaceTime with the Democrats, hoping to win the White House.
He was entirely asleep for the Elizabeth Warren appearance.
We're back in 2.
Ontario teachers are stepping up the pressure, increasing their rotating strikes from once a week to 2, and in some cases 3 days this week. As the CBC's Ali Chiasson tells us, it affects hundreds of thousands of elementary and secondary school students.
No ifs, no buts, no education cuts.
Rally cries, picket signs, teachers saying things like,
I think it's important that we do the right thing to support our kids.
Rotating teacher strikes have been going on for months across Ontario. This week it's back to back. Some schools will be out 2, even 3 days. Both the teachers' unions and the government are accusing each other of being unfair.
It seems like every time the government comes forward to satisfy something, that the union brings it back to what this is increasingly becoming all about, teachers' compensation.
This is about the kids, this is about our classrooms, and this is about special education and the needs of our students.
After months of this, the fight for public opinion has reached a boiling point.
Frankly, the government's in a bit of a difficult situation, which is why you see a little bit of desperation. And it's really simply the fact that the public support is overwhelmingly in support of the teachers and their actions.
On that point, this mystery attack ad appeared in 3 major newspapers this weekend, paid for by an unknown and unclaimed group called Vaughan Working Families.
The government obviously is not involved in any way, shape, or form. It's not something that we put out, not something that we've endorsed.
The opposition, the NDP, finds that hard to believe.
Foremost, that's why we're calling on the Elections Commissioner to investigate.
Talks broke down last Friday. The province says they're ready to negotiate with the teachers' unions, but that's not going to happen before more strikes. Next up, walkouts at elementary schools and high schools from 10 different boards, and all Catholic schools will be closed. And that's just tomorrow. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
And we are keeping a close watch on several other stories tonight. Hundreds of people stranded at a BC ski resort have finally been able to return home.
They were able to open the road at 12 o'clock for one-way traffic for those leaving.
A convoy of cars snaked their way out of Sasquatch Mountain this afternoon. Some 500 people became trapped after a mudslide blocked the only route in and out of the area. About half of them paid for helicopter rides yesterday. The others hunkered down, some without power, waiting until it was safe to leave. Also in BC today, a man convicted of murder in the death of a police officer was handed a mandatory life sentence. Oscar Arfman will not be eligible for parole for 25 years. He gunned down Constable John Davidson in an Abbotsford parking lot in 2017. Davidson was responding to 911 calls about a man firing shots into a truck. The officer was shot within seconds of getting out of his vehicle. Today, his wife and children gave victim impact statements in court. They described him as a loving family man who took pride in never having fired his weapon on the job. And parents are outraged after cake containing cannabis was served to students and staff at an elementary school in Nova Scotia.
I'm upset about it. I send my kids to school to be safe. I'm afraid it's going to start an early addiction.
It happened in Eskasoni, about 40 kilometers southwest of Sydney. According to police, a handful of people who ate one of 2 cakes served at an event fell ill, and some of those people later tested positive for THC. It's not clear what happened exactly, but the cake was provided by an outside caterer.
So hello again from Iowa, where it's a pretty big night for Democrats. But make no mistake, Republicans are here too. So next on The National, we look at their strategy here on the ground and the message they are determined to send.
First, though, healthcare workers walk off the job in Hong Kong to make a point about the coronavirus. We'll take you there next on The National.
If we invest in fighting at the epicenter, at the source, then the spread to other countries is minimal and also slow.
That's the head of the World Health Organization, who praised China's response to the coronavirus and argued against measures like travel bans. In terms of sheer numbers, this outbreak barely exists outside China. 99% of the cases and all but a single death can be found on the mainland. And as Chris Brown shows us, many right next door in Hong Kong want to keep it that way by sealing the territory off. But that causes fresh headaches for the government.
Instead of being inside with their patients today, Hong Kong's healthcare workers were out on the sidewalk on strike and doing what they feel they can to keep the 15 confirmed cases here of the coronavirus from getting any larger.
If they don't close the border and allow the people from China to spread the virus in our community, all Hong Kong citizens and the medical staff will be in danger.
We don't think all the things we have now could stop us from the outburst of the virus.
For many in Hong Kong, the parallels with SARS 17 years ago are frightening. A similar virus crossed over from the mainland, wreaking havoc on the healthcare system and leaving 300 dead. The Beijing-appointed administration had severed some border links with the mainland before today, but many flights from China continued. Still, Chief Executive Carrie Lam seemed to be searching for a compromise when she announced 10 of 13 crossing points would be closed, which should reduce mainland arrivals without damaging the economy, she said.
And because of the inconvenience that we have caused to people as a result, so the numbers will come down. And I have proven that the numbers have come down.
I think this is only reasonable to do this.
But a doctor who's part of a coronavirus crisis team told us there are so many unknowns about transmission and the fatality rate that every crossing, land, sea, and air, should be sealed off.
Before there is a massive local outbreak, complete closure of our border is, in my opinion, the only way to save us from oblivion.
Now, Chris, given what's happened in Hong Kong before the virus, there must be a political dimension to all of this.
Well, for sure, Andrew. Over the summer, we saw all kinds of very violent street protests, which really eroded confidence in Hong Kong's government. So now there are even fewer people here who are willing to accept Carrie Lam's reassurances. Andrew.
But at the same time, I mean, this is a territory that relies so much on trade. A full travel ban could be seen as risky. So how are businesses reacting?
Well, it's already really feels like a ghost town here with essential business only being conducted. But so far, Hong Kong is being treated separately from the mainland as far as things like flight bans and quarantines. And that's exactly the way that local businesses want to keep it, because just as bad and potentially harmful as that thick border with the mainland could be, the alternative here could be much worse.
Okay,
Andrew.
Chris Brown, thank you very much. And we do have one more note on this, a symbol of China's spare no effort approach to the outbreak. They've rushed construction of 2 hospitals, one of which is already up and running. The ground was broken on this 1,000-bed hospital just 8 days ago, and it started taking patients today. This one, for another 1,500 patients, is now 80% complete and should be operational by the end of the week.
We are back from Iowa next. Tonight is a major test for Democrats, but they're not the only ones here.
4 more years! God bless America!
Republicans are holding their own caucuses, and they really want to be heard. We'll follow them right after the break. All right, welcome back to Iowa and our top story. Tonight, U.S. Democrats launched the long and messy process of choosing who will lead their party and challenge Donald Trump for the White House. We're here as it happens and to make sense of the results as they come in. So party faithful across the state have been gathering at more than 1,600 locations. Technically, they're not voting here. Instead, they show their support for a candidate by gathering around his or her representative. And the people taking part can be swayed and cross the floor to switch their allegiances. Our Katie Simpson has been watching that process up close in the suburban city of Ankeny. That's about 20 minutes north of Des Moines, which is where we are now. So, Katie, I know how enthusiastic you are. I can sort of hear you squealing down the line. What have you been seeing there?
Well, there was a decisive victory in this room for Mayor Pete Buttigieg, the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana. But what was shocking as this process unfolded after the first round of votes here, Bernie Sanders was not a viable candidate. And when it was announced in the room, there were gasps and everyone was stunned that he didn't get enough support on that first round of voting. However, after the wheeling and dealing, enough supporters did go over to the Bernie camp, so he will be picking up some delegates here. But it was Mayor Pete Buttigieg who was the clear winner of this particular event, followed by Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, and then, as I mentioned, Bernie Sanders was able to just squeak enough support out there to pick up some delegates here.
So, Katie, I know the key thing that people keep talking about tonight is overall turnout and just how engaged Democrats are. They're trying to get a sense of what this says about the rest of the country in the year to come. What's your sense of what turnout was like where you are?
Well, this is a smaller community, a city of about 60,000 people, and there are 13 locations just like this. And organizers here tell me in 2016, there were about half the number of people here tonight. So they're excited about that, and they're hopeful that if the overall numbers are what they were back in 2008 when voters got excited about Barack Obama, in that Iowa caucus, there were more than 239,000 people who showed up to take part in a caucus. So organizers are hopeful they'll see that level of engagement, because that could be an indicator that people are motivated to get out to the polls. And we know that voter turnout was a concern for the Democrats in some particular locations in 2016.
And so, Katie, if Pete Buttigieg was the winner in that precinct, what are his supporters telling you about what everyone can read into that?
Well, the main theme here tonight, everyone was pretty cordial, pretty respectful. And the main theme that most everyone has been making a point to point out is they all want to see a candidate who they think can defeat Donald Trump. And they're really trying to get behind whoever is going to be that candidate at the end of the day. There are still lingering resentments from 2016 when those Bernie Sanders supporters, some of them didn't get behind Hillary Clinton as enthusiastically as they got behind Bernie Sanders. And people here don't want to see that happen again. So they're trying to, if their main candidate is not selected to be the nominee, they're trying to really push the message, vote blue no matter who.
Okay, Katie, one last thought very quickly. I know you are a student of global politics, and I know this is fascinating to you. What's the most interesting thing you've seen tonight?
Oh, easy. The drama. It happens in front of everyone. There's no secrets here. People wheel and deal and try and convince other people to come on and join their team. And it is absolutely wild to get to watch in person because it is absolutely dramatic.
All right. Katie Simpson, thanks very much. So it is hard to believe, maybe, but there are actually Republican caucuses happening too today. Their process is different, not as raucous, and really not as important, because in 2020 there is little doubt who the Republican nominee will be. So does that mean the Republicans have been able to save a little cash and capital and skip Iowa? Not a chance.
The Iowa conversation has obviously been all about Democrats, their rallies, their issues, their voters, starting to choose their presidential candidate. But that focus has proven a real irritant in Republican corners, which explains the Trump tractor.
4 more years, yeah!
It's Gary Loeffler's tractor, but he's been dispatched to rallies like this Pete Buttigieg one across Des Moines by the Republican Party.
4 more years!
Make noise, grab attention, fly that Trump flag.
Yes, sir. How are you? Doing great.
It's all been a bit baffling to some Democrats, asking, why here?
What are you guys looking to accomplish? I'm just asking an honest question. What do you guys look to accomplish by doing it? Because I've seen you at other events as well.
The narrative is that there's only Democrats in the state of Iowa.
Okay.
And so, you know what, we're just trying to let people know that there are two choices.
But you know that's not true.
Political science professor Rachel Payne Caulfield goes to every event she can, Republican or Democratic.
Donald Trump.
She saw the tractor sideshow and sees political wisdom in it, especially in one of the last purple states in the U.S.
All across the country, we have what we call pivot counties. Those are counties that voted for Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012 and then went on to vote for Donald Trump in 2016. Iowa has more of those counties than any other state in the country. Anytime you have this many Democrats out on the campaign trail talking to Iowa voters, Republicans really want to have a presence in the state as well to demonstrate their strength.
So much more than the tractor to the Republican push in Iowa. A massive Trump rally just days ago that had people lining up for hours in the cold. And now an arrival of 80 senior members of his administration, including his family, to make appearances all over the state while the Democrats caucus. The scale catches even Republican offices here by surprise.
You've never had an arrival of firepower, of surrogates this big before.
Right. Yes, it's pretty unprecedented. Although I will say, what inspired President Trump's visit to the state was President Reagan in 1984 actually did the same thing. He held a big rally. I think it might have been the night before the caucuses, just to fire up Republicans in the state. And obviously it turned out well for him. He ended up winning 49 of the 50 states in '84.
We're doing our best to help farmers work their way back, strengthen their prices.
Ronald Reagan's appeal to farmers in 1984 was cautious. He knew life had been hard for them under his administration. They've definitely been hard under Trump's. Farm bankruptcies up 20% in 2019, the highest in 8 years. And the trade war with China has hurt prices. But stick with him or else is the line.
And if we don't win, your farms are going to hell, I can tell you right now.
Gary Leffler was in that audience. He's a row farmer. He's taken a hit on soybeans. 4 years ago, Trump was not his first choice. But he wears his loyalty now all over that tractor.
So even though you might have been hurting financially, and a lot of farmers were, you were still willing to have faith in him?
We were still supporting him. You know, there was a couple guys, you know, the guys that feel, you know, if he doesn't get this straightened out in 3 months, I don't know what I'm going to do. But as a whole, you know, they got it.
They're grateful for the new NAFTA, believe it will work. Grateful for the trade deal with China, believe Chinese imports will surge. Faith is their fuel, and this may be the Democrats' day, but the likes of Gary Leffler and his tractor are determined to make Iowa a Republican moment.
After catching this action in Iowa, we're on the move once more because this is a really big week for our American neighbors. Tomorrow, we'll bring you the national from Washington, D.C. as President Donald Trump delivers his State of the Union address. We'll be there Wednesday, too, for that historic moment as the Senate votes on whether to remove the president from office now that he's been impeached. And so we'll be back in just a few minutes with more from here in Des Moines, Iowa. You will meet the baby, Andrew, who managed to snag a lot of the photos with Democratic hopefuls. That's coming up in tonight's Moment.
Can't wait. First, though, a sacred animal returns home. The return of the bison. Next on The National.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast Front Burner, from mandated CanCon on streaming services to an ad-free CBC, we'll talk about a new set of recommendations for how Canadian broadcasting should change. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. Let's turn now to some of the other stories making headlines tonight. Conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh has revealed a difficult diagnosis.
I can't help but feel that I'm letting everybody down with this. But the upshot is that I have been diagnosed with advanced lung cancer.
The 69-year-old says he will continue to host the Rush Limbaugh show as much as he can, but will take time off for tests and treatment. Limbaugh is one of the most influential voices of American right-wing politics. To the UK now, where the discovery of an old bomb, believed to be from the Second World War, forced an evacuation in central London. Several streets around the famous Charing Cross Road and Oxford Street were cordoned off. The bomb was unearthed at a construction site. And believe it or not, this does happen from time to time. According to government figures, hundreds of unexploded bombs are believed to be buried across the country. And for the second year in a row, Greta Thunberg has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Her name was put forward by two lawmakers in her home country of Sweden. They said Thunberg has worked hard to make politicians open their eyes to the climate crisis and said action for reducing our emissions and complying with the Paris Agreement is therefore also an act of making peace. The 17-year-old spent much of last year leading climate protests in cities across Europe and North America. Well, some First Nations in Saskatchewan are working together to bring a sacred animal back to their traditional territory, one that was key to their survival for centuries. Yet, most Indigenous people have never had the chance to live among the bison. As Bonnie Allen reports, they have a simple plan to change that.
It's been more than 140 years since Plains bison roamed this land, so it was quite the welcome party. As the animals finally came home to Zagame Anishinaabe First Nation.
We're once again reconnecting with the spirit of the buffalo, and we're welcoming this medicine to our land.
Commonly referred to as buffalo, there were once millions of bison in North America, but the population was decimated to near extinction due to overhunting as well as disease and drought. There's been a recent push by Parks Canada to restore bison to national and provincial parks, but this is a private initiative. It started 5 years ago when an Alberta rancher agreed to donate 22 bison to Papikasis First Nation.
I wanted to do something different, something that would make a difference.
And it has. Alan Bird manages the herd.
We've always been the buffalo people.
The community has slaughtered some bison for meat and ceremonies, a reminder of the past.
They were very important to us because they give us food, they give us shelter, their hides, they give us the tools we needed to survive. They were a gift of life.
The herd at Papikasis has grown to more than 100 bison, and now...
Pay it forward, it's a blessing again.
So they round up a small herd, including 20 pregnant cows, to share with Zagame Anishinaabe First Nation. It's 100 kilometers down the road, and it too will use the bison for meat and traditional ceremonies.
I witnessed a couple of our people in tears.
In 5 years, Zagame will share bison with yet another First Nation. For now, they celebrate the return of a sacred animal, a symbol of hope. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Zagame Anishinaabe First Nation.
If you're running for political office, you need stamina, a stump speech, and the know-how to hold a baby. Well, here in Iowa, it seems they all held this one. Baby Orn's handler-in-chief brings us our moment next.
Get CBC Radio, CBC Podcasts, and CBC Music playlists together for free. Hear it all here. CBC Listen. Download today.
I've never seen one of these in my life.
New decade, new technology.
There's a dishwasher.
Could the 80s be totally excellent?
No way.
Way.
Ooh, that's hot. 1, 2, 3.
Back in time for winter, Thursday at 8 on CBC and CBC Gem.
Here's a fact. Politics in Iowa are neighborly, socializing, barbecues, door knocking. But when it comes to getting photographed with a candidate, Orrin Atlas is in a class all his own. So he's had some personal meet and greets with about a dozen contenders for the U.S. presidency and didn't spit up on any of them. Orrin and his mom provide our moment.
We found ourselves in Iowa for 5 months, and I think that we would have really missed out if we didn't try to participate in the Democratic tour that happens through there. What happened is I went to the Joe Biden office opening. The people in the crowd said, "Joe, there's a baby. Take a picture with the baby," and kind of moved us forward. And we got that picture, and I liked it so much. My partner liked it. Orrin's grandparents liked it. Then after that, it became a little bit of a game for us. You know, Bernie Sanders was wearing a shiny pin. He liked that. His best picture was with Michael Bloomberg, who at the time had not joined the race. He was entirely asleep for the Elizabeth Warren appearance. Our ultimate intention was, you know, we'd have lots of pictures to line the walls, so we'd have a intimidating nursery. He looked very connected.
Okay, so here's the thing about Orrin. He's got a long way to go before he can vote. Kate, his mom, is a Canadian from Toronto, so that's where that enthusiasm comes from. But I have to say, being down here, Andrew, I have met quite a few political tourists. You know, people who aren't working, but they're here. They're meeting the candidates. They're going to these rallies. They're watching the caucuses. And the old political science student in me wishes she had done that.
Wow, but. Boy, you got to start young these days if you want a career in politics, huh? My kids are 5 and 2. They're over the hill. Too late for them. That's the National for this February 3rd. Have a good night.
Good night.